For those of you that don't know me and don't know Branjectory, I'm Tom Malingo, one of the co-founders of Branjectory, along with my lovely wife, Susan Bryanton, who's here in the crowd somewhere. If you don't know Branjectory, what we do is offer exposure, engagement, and education for brands under 10 million in sales, CPG brands, the kind that you would find at Whole Foods or Sprouts or any national, natural or specialty grocer across the country. We have brands across all categories: food, beverage, health, wellness, alcohol, non-alc. Several of our Branjectory members are on here who take part in our regular scheduled meetings during the course of the month with industry experts and investors. We do practice pitch sessions. We do one-on-one problem-solving sessions. We do group problem-solving sessions with both investors and industry experts. We have a capital raise fundraising lab, we call it, every month, where we bring in an industry expert investor to answer questions. We have group problem-solving sessions just amongst our brand members. We do founder investor meetups for networking and showcasing brands. We do pitch slams, and we help brands find investors so that they can continue their fundraising efforts with some confidence. So with that, one of the things we do are these educational webinars on a monthly basis, where we try to bring in experts who will offer a different view of what you need to know to grow well. Growing successfully is part of being able to tell your story to an investor. And that's why we bring in folks like we're going to bring in Jeff and Peter Jude today to talk to us about how to build your website in such a way to continue to get that consumer engaged with you and take them through the process of your website for their benefit to make the purchase that you want them to buy. Okay. So the goal here is, and I think I've heard Jeff and Peter say this many times, it's your consumer's website. It's not your website. So you need to build it and do it in such a way in which it gets them continually and repeatedly back to the buy. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to, I believe, turn it over to Jeff, who's got control
Yes.
of the slides here, and let him take it over. So with that, I'll
Awesome.
introduce Jeff Wachowski and Peter Jude Ricciardi, and I'll turn it over to you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
I'm
Tom.
gonna bring this up while we're here. Everybody can see it good. Just want to
You
make
can see
sure.
it just great.
All right. Um, yeah, so maybe just a little intro to start. Peter and I are from Brandartica. We're a creative agency. Um, and today is really about the consumer journey, right, through your website. So, how does a consumer land on your site, and how do they, go through your site, and you're kind of a guide, right? So you're a guide, and one way to think about this too is this journey is not unlike a brick and mortar retail journey. When you walk into a store, they're thinking about that same type of thing. How do we help customers find what they need in a quick and efficient manner? Um, and how do they stay engaged when they're in there and find things that maybe they weren't planning to buy along the way? Um, so yeah, let's just dive into this. So just to start here, just to kind of frame this for everybody, um, most DTC brands don't have a conversion problem. They have a clarity trust problem. Um, traffic is coming in, revenue isn't really keeping up necessarily, and everyone's first instinct is, oh, there's something wrong with our checkout. Um, but usually what it is really is there's something that's happening a little bit earlier. Um, so who's this for? This is really for founders and marketers, running a consumer website, who feel like there's a gap between the traffic that's coming in and the sales that they're realizing. So that's exactly what we're going to cover here. Uh, So, walking through this journey, um, there are really five stages here. Um, the first stage is, attract. So the first impressions. The next stage is orient, right? What's the site flow look like? How is the discovery happening? Um, there's an evaluate, right? Because people are they're smart consumers now. They're gonna want to like compare and get all that information they need to make the purchase. And then there's, the obvious is the conversion part, right? And you're making it easy for them to buy now. And then post sale, how do you retain those customers? So that's kind of what we're doing now. We're gonna dive right in, and share like these pieces to the puzzle. So the journey is really it's much bigger than the checkout, right? Um, these are the sort of the five pillars or the five core pieces that we're gonna focus on. Um, every part of the site is doing one or two things, right? It's you're trying to build momentum. You're trying to create, just get things, flowing in the right way so that this journey is a good one for the person coming to your site. Um, so, part of this is also the trust cues. What kind of trust cues are you making visible to them? So that buyers can say, "Oh, okay, so I see there's reviews, I see there's certification, I see there's lots of different pieces to that trust piece." And then retention really starts from when the package arrives, not not necessarily in this buying process that happens after the fact. Um, so think about it like a good restaurant, right? So you you walk into the restaurant and you're already judging the restaurant before you even tasted the food. Um, the sign, the door, the smell in the room. It's funny. Somebody once said that when you go to a brand new restaurant, to go and check the bathroom so that you can see like is there good management there, right? It could tell you a lot. And people do the same thing when they land on the site. They start looking for cues, and say, okay, I'm at the right place. That type
Jeff,
of
can I
thing.
just jump in for a second? I
Sure.
wanted to add to this that, when you start at the beginning of this, the attraction, the arrival, the first impression, I've said it often. I'm sure I'm not the only person that says it. But, your first impression can sometimes just be your last. So you get, usually you get one shot at this. So when we start talking about clarity and things like that, we're talking about, knowing who you are, knowing what you do really uniquely well, better than anybody else, what makes you special and who it's for. So you
Mm,
solve something. And your customers should probably be viewed as the hero of the story.
mm,
The brand is never the hero. The brand is sort of the Jiminy Cricket character on the shoulder that guides and mentors. So when it comes to a website, the first
mm,
things you want to see are the things that answer the immediate question: what is it? Why am I here? Why do I need it? And as Jeff has it laid out here, when you get into the orientation, what's the flow? I've run into this several times where, in my opinion, or I want something really fluffy and pretty up front because it looks flashy and snazzy. But the reality is, if you're selling DTC, people are there to shop. They're not there to learn your life story. So you really want to organize the site in such a way so that those that have come there can, first off, they're new, they can identify it, they know who you are, and they know what they want, they know why they're getting it. But that other part is really upfront above the fold, is making sure
mm,
that you start with sales, getting sales out the door. Um, And everything else that's in here, and as far as, and I think we'll get into it further in the evaluation, the trust factors. Reviews on a website are tricky things because there's no company or brand that puts bad reviews on their website. Well, except for us. I put a bad review front and center on our website. It's not a real review, but it'll get your attention for sure. So when we say the trust, the proof, the receipts, you're looking for things where not so much as the testimonial, but share the information that has benefited other customers. That's the kind of stuff that really sells it and that really brings it home.
Mm.
So Jeff, that I just wanted to add that in here as we go on to the next
No,
part
that's
because
great. That's
it
great.
is. It's
Yes.
really about clarity and
Hmm.
story. If you sell, let's say you sell, I don't know, fried onion rings, you know, so do a lot of other people. The question always is, so what? Well, you got to have an answer for that.
Right.
And you've got to make sure that your story is lockstep with your team internally so
Mm.
that whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, or whether you're a small team, that you're repeating the same language signals over and over again. And those need to be found within your social, within everything else that you're doing, sell sheets, and most importantly on the website. Because if there's a
Mm.
disconnect there, whether someone realizes it or not, subconsciously you've broken that trust factor, and now you've got to do something to rebuild it. And all that time creates hesitation, and people move on to the devil they know. So that's all I
Yes,
have to add to
right.
that.
And that's a great segue into the next slide, which is like you have 3 seconds, basically, of their attention. And this typically happens obviously as a there's other landing pages on your site, of course, because they're found in search that way. But your homepage really is your first impression of your brand many times with a new consumer. And there's only seconds really that you have, right, to feel relevant and easy to understand. Um, Also, there's different ways that people are coming to your site. So if they see an ad, let's say, as Peter was saying on social, or they're from a landing conversion page, let's say, all those messages have to match. The messages, and I have Olipop here, kind of, the feel good soda. Those messages carry on through other marketing vehicles. And so when they come back to the site, they're like, okay, this all makes sense. This is consistent and this is where I'm supposed to be. They don't say those words, but that's what their feeling is when they land here. Um,
Jeff, this is a great example because if people notice this,
mm,
it's a fairly plain, you'd think with Olipop and at their rate of growth and how successful they've been, that they might go, spend a lion's share of that money on something insane and over the top or, really some AI generated super movie. But what they're doing right here up at the front, you see a very clear image of the product. It's just one of the
mm,
products, and that's fine because it's very clear the instant recognition between seeing it online and seeing it on the shelf exists. And then it says the feel good soda. So, right off the bat, I think you've got a statement here that nobody's going to argue with. Nobody wants a feel bad soda. They want a feel good soda. And
right.
for the most part, this is what's interesting to me, is that they're solving the problem right out of the gate. A lot of people, me included, I love soda, but I don't drink it. I got enough problems. I don't need the sugar. I don't need it. But what they're telling you right out of the front is this is a soda you can feel good about. This is a soda that's not going to make you feel like junk after you drink it.
Mm,
And then on that sub level, that second subheader, they're telling you the facts straight up in a very succinct way. Real ingredients, real refreshment, real digestive health support. What they're not doing is telling you all of the data that backs that up. That is for later. You will discover it. So they've given you something very digestible to consume.
mm,
And there's honestly, then you have your shop button. I mean, it's right there. If you're in the mood or you're looking to buy Olipop online, You don't even have to look at any of this stuff. You land there and you go, bang, I'm buying right now. But if you're a first time visitor or you're not really sure about it, they've already built up this redundancy of supportive mechanisms that ease any hesitance that you might have as a buyer. And again, it invites you with a lack of information here to
Mm.
go further into the site. And that's what draws you in. It's the Hansel and Gretel, conundrum, if you will. And that's what they're doing here.
Yeah, and also just keep in mind too that people have different types of browsing behavior, right? So what they've done here really well in Olipop is that they've narrowed down really what a customer needs to do when they land here through their menu system. So immediately, they have shop, learn, and subscribe, right? There isn't there isn't eight different things to choose from. So they've narrowed it down to, why are people coming here and how can we get them quickly um to where they need to go. Think about your menu as like if you walk into, let's say, a CVS pharmacy and you see the rows of aisles and you look up at the signs to get what you need. That's the same thing that's happening here, right? That you're trying to guide people exactly where they need to go. And so they've done a really good job here of really just, getting it down to just these three. Um, find the stores on the other side and the shopping cart and all that other stuff. But really the main navigation here is shop, learn, and subscribe. Um, and then also just, you might want to take this as sort of an exercise, after is like, pull up your own homepage and just, put in your mind, I'm a stranger to the site. I've never been here before. What is this? And is it for me? And you can kind of go through that exercise and look at it and say, have I given them enough to make that the answer to that very clear?
Yeah. No, nobody's calling out to the kids in the yard and saying, "Hey, who wants to come in for a nice cold glass of digestive support tonic?"
Right.
They're telling you up front, "Who wants a soda? I want a soda, and this is a soda I can feel good about. Hey, who wants one of these bad boys?" So it's really simple and clean. I love the impression they give right on the front end. What happens
Mm.
after that, we'll find out.
That's right. That's right. And so okay, so now you got their attention, right? So you don't want them to get lost in the hallway, so to speak. Um, so now we get into the site flow. Okay. And so think about your homepage, your merchandising. This is your store. I gave the pharmacy analogy, so how are people going to shop? Well, if you go into a pharmacy, that you have the aisles, but you also have end caps. And the end caps usually have something that's special. It's either on sale or a new item. These are cues that everyone is so accustomed to because they shop retail. Um, and their expectation is that they're going to get a similar thing when they go to a site, especially e-commerce site, in that they have different things that they're looking for, but they're also looking for ideas. And this is going to help you in terms of merchandising your storefront in a way that, again, if I'm coming to your site and the first thing I see is the story about your journey and your founder's story, that then you're already setting up an impression, you know, um, in terms of where the site is really meant for, right? So if it's meant for e-commerce, having these kind of plans for merchandising is really crucial to that conversion rate. Uh, so what are the pieces here? So the site flow, right? It's navigation, it's search, categories, right? All these different steps, but you don't want to confuse people, right? You don't want to confuse them with, you know, um, some kind of email capture in the middle of this when they're trying to navigate, right? Um, and that's why you usually see those things in let's say in the footer. But also, just be aware again of those different methods of people navigating through your site. Some people are going to use your top navigation because that's just the way that they go through sites. Other people need those visual cues, right? You can do the same thing that you're doing in your navigation in a visual way below, because those people that tend to scroll immediately when they get onto your site are looking for the same things as the people that use the menu. Um, and then product discovery. Again, these are the collections that you put together. They're related items. There's bundles. All of these things make it a shopping experience. Um, One thing to note too is in terms of your menu system is don't give people too many choices because there's a quote. It says long list sink ships. So it's like if I'm buried with like 30 choices, that's no good either. So narrow it down as much as you can. Put things in categories as five categories, let's say, instead of 15. Because that's gonna serve them, right? Tom was mentioning this site is for them. So you want to make it as easy as possible for them to find what they need. Um, yeah, anything to add, Peter, in terms of the
No.
okay. So yeah, so from your homepage, now we're talking about someone actually clicked on one of your items and now is on your product page, right? How are you going to make them understand everything about your product and build that trust at the same time, right? Should I believe in this product? Um, and then you have to answer that question for them. So how do you do that? Well, you got to give them more than one image of your product, right? Because they're curious. People want to see what does it look like in the back? What are the nutritional value? What's the nutritional information?
Yeah.
All of these different views of a product they're going to want to
Yeah.
see. Um, it's
And this one would
always
make a
it's
label
always
that I was in this package.
kind of
You talking
important
about package?
in terms of
Sydney, you need to be on mute, Sydney.
yes, sorry.
Oh,
There you
Um,
are.
so they want to see the different views of it, even though I mean, you're trying to showcase your product, but at this stage, they want to be able to see, well, what am I actually getting, right?
Mhm.
Physically. The other part of this too is like in terms of the information that you can give. Size, the sizes, specs, all those kind of things, all these benefit things that you can add in terms of, bullet points. But also, one thing to keep in mind too, as we enter into this new AI stage, is that FAQs are super important, right? So FAQs meaning not just questions and answers, but also just have the answers for them right away in your actual content, right? That's going to be super important down the road because people are using their chat GPTs to do searches now.
Well, it's interesting, Jeff. We've talked about this for a couple of years, and this is something for people to remember at this level is that whether you're using Google or as now people are using AI platforms to actually search products, one of the old school things we used to do would be to ask questions that are, let's say, a target customer or target client might be looking for and what they might be
Mm,
Googling. And then we would get those answers. And then we would bake that information from those answers into our content on our site so that
mm,
SEO is finding those top rated answers and serving us up first as a expert in that area. And it's the same thing with AI. What Jeff's talking about is AEO. And think of the Q&A, the frequently asked questions, not as just a service tool, but it's actually a content tool. And if you use it
yes.
correctly, and if you're clever about it, you can take what's in that section and again bake it into the content on your page. Jeff, I'd also like to add here, when we look at pictures, things like this, looking at the shop, looking at these examples here, these are very simple, clean, clear photos. I'm guessing these are professionally done, not done on someone's workbench in their guest room. Totally understand. We've all been there. We have to do what we have to do sometimes. But
Mm,
lighting's essential. And I think when there's a place where you want to try to invest some money, is getting product photos that are really not only in focus and clear, but well lit,
mm,
clean. We had a project where the client hired a photographer that was a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend that they knew. And I think they were a wedding photographer, not a
mm.
product photographer. And when we got the photos back, there were like fingerprints and smudges. You could see the photographer holding the camera in the reflection of the can. And, that kind of stuff doesn't fly. It seems very small, it seems very minor, but that immediately erodes that trust factor and the proof and the reliability factor that you've worked so hard to build up. So pay close attention to those details. And as well, all this content that Jeff's describing in descriptors, this all goes back to your story. Who are you? What's your brand tone? What's your voice? It all has to sync up and be in lockstep. So these are different elements to a website, but all feed back to similar origins.
Absolutely, right? Because I think, look, if you can if you can answer every question that they may have or most of them, they're going to click that buy now. They're going to select what they want and click the buy now, and that's going to bring them really to the next step, right? Um, the next step is really like it's they've made the purchase decision, right? This one's easy. Don't keep it boring. This is where you want to be boring, is in your checkout. This is one area you don't want to be all super creative, right? You want to make this as easy as possible. And one way you can do that is, give them options for different types of payments, right? Give them give them the options to make this the simplest part of the whole journey. Um, because ultimately this is where a speed bump can happen. Something's spinning and it's not connecting right. I don't want to pay by PayPal right now. I'll come back to this later, and they don't. Like this is where you want to focus on being boring, which is good, really good for this, but also, making it so that there's plenty of options for them to make that payment. Have everything very clear, have it very easy. Um, Branding's not, I mean, this is one of the reasons why Shopify doesn't even like out of the gate, they don't add a lot of branding to this page. And that's on purpose. And it's to help you because they want you, they benefit from you selling product, right? So they they can, if they can control one piece, this is the piece they want to control to make it very simple. And so this part of it is kind of the easy one. This part of it, if you have Shopify, you have some options for payments. Try to give them as many as you can. But don't make this into a big custom design. That's what I would say as advice.
Well, at
Uh,
this point, you just want to get their money and their information and get them out of there.
that's right.
And Jeff, again, I think it's also important to remember that if it's still a thing, I come across sites on occasion where I want to purchase something, and I noticed up in the search bar that there's like a little, red warning triangle that says this site isn't secure.
Oh,
Those right, is
yes,
that's still a thing. So
it is.
if you're in the business of selling things on your website, the fastest way to lose customers and not to get them back is to not have those things up to date. So if you're, what is it, SSL?
It's an SSL
Yeah.
certificate. If
So,
if if you're on, right.
I'm not going to put any credit card or bank information into a site that has not even bothered or doesn't know or hasn't noticed that they're
Hmm.
not secure. So you lose there, and then that boils you right straight back into other areas of your marketing, which mean, if you don't have safe and secure content
Mm,
that aligns with your brand elsewhere, people get confused very easily and they get put off very quickly. So
sure.
that's like a big thing that often gets overlooked, or people it runs out of, maybe it goes out of date or they haven't updated it, or that's the kind of stuff
Exactly.
that'll kill a website if you're trying to sell stuff.
We'll kill it instantly, right? You get that warning and you're out of here. You're like, I'll go somewhere else. So like that
Yeah.
happens. Um, but yeah, so the security part, again, if you're on Shopify, they have their own system for that. But it basically is when you're typing in the information here, which is your private information, right? And especially your credit card information, things like that. The browser, it looks like to you like you're typing it in there, but the browser, what it's taking in has been encrypted and it looks like gobbledygook. And that's on purpose so that somebody doesn't isn't have the capability to get that information right from you typing it in.
Mm.
So that's the purpose of it. Um, so yeah, so from this point, you're like, yay, we made a sale. Um, well, this is still part of the journey, which is the post purchase part of this. So you've accomplished the major feat here by getting that first purchase, right? So it's a brand new customer, you got the first purchase. You This is crucial to get them back, even if they like the product. This is crucial to get them back is to communicate with them. And even before you communicate with them in terms of marketing, communicate with them on things like we're getting your order ready. We're we're shipping the order. We see you got the order. Did you like the order? Like this is where you can start engaging with and this can all be automated. I know Shopify has a platform and there are others. Um, this is where you can really start to build that customer base with these simple interactions, and they can be automated, like I said. So the post-purchase, confirmations, the shipping updates, all of these things, the follow-ups, those are essential. But then now you have an opportunity above all of those things to market to them, right? To get them back. Oh, we saw that you bought this product. We think you'll like this other product too. Here's 10% off. Um, this is how you can get those people back. If they love your product, they're going to come back to order the same product, but this is a way for you to start that conversation with them. Hey, we have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram, we have a TikTok. Um, Check out our stuff over here, right? This is like they've made the decision to buy the product. Now you want to bring them into your community.
I think, Jeff, this is a good spot to also mention that, um, you know, giving people something without asking anything in return is a big trust builder. And when you're always trying to make a sale or another sale or an extra sale or BOGO, you're just it's very translucent. People can see through that, and I think it's important. If, like, let's say Graza is a good example. They might be giving you sort of a, hey, read the blog or the glog, whatever it says down there. Um, and, that blog, there's a good chance that they're telling you something not only about their product, but about a use for their product or a
Mm.
recipe or something innovative that you can benefit from, and they're not actually selling you anything in that moment. And that is huge. So that's the kind of thing that when you have these opportunities to engage beyond the sale or extraneous to the sale, it's a good opportunity to just allow your brand to be human, allow your brand to give recognition to the challenges, the plights, the things that other people are thinking about or concerned with, and share what you know about them, because that turns you from just a product or a sales tool into a trusted ally. So
Mm,
these are areas where you can really beat the big boys at this by doing so.
yeah, absolutely. And and it's funny with the whole big boy um idea. It's funny how low expectations people have when they purchase from a big brand that they're going to get anything, right? They're not going to get anything from them necessarily, and that's their expectation. Like you can really shine so much brighter than they can a lot of ways just because it's because you're smaller, because you're able to do these extra things that they're not capable of doing. That's
But
all.
what Graza's doing here is that, it's a high quality product. It's a
Mm,
premium price product. They're not BOGOing it. They're not discounting it. They don't have to, because they've done the work on the front end where
mm.
their story and their signals, their brand is so crystal clear as to what it is, what it solves, who it's for, and how it benefits you. That's so clear. They don't have to play the discount game. So, and neither do you. Those are the kind of things that allow you to really get ahead in this world. And I think these are opportunities. You may try one or two different things. They may work, they may not. But it's all about creating conversations and building relationships with an audience. It's not always about selling to the audience. When the audience, like for me, I bought Graza once. I will go back and buy it again. I really enjoyed the product. I love the fact that I still have the squeeze bottle. And if I don't feel like Brian Graza or somebody else comes home with a different bottle of oil, I'll throw it in the Graza bottle and I feel like I've still got it. But really, with them, the bottle solved all the bottle was the sale. It wasn't so much as the oil. The bottle was the sale. This
Mm,
squeezable, reusable bottle.
yeah, no, that's a really good point.
I'm full of them, Jeff.
So 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 all right. So where are these leaks that we're talking about, right? So in a nutshell, like the first one is the that at first impression, right? So the buyers can't place the brand fast enough to trust it. Like that's where uh one of these leaks happens. It's usually the initial one. Um, messy browsing paths, right? The navigation structure feels a little clunky or not thought out. You've been to these sites, you've clicked on something expecting something to be there and something else is there. Like that's when like people are gonna start bouncing, right? The product pages. When I go to a new site, a new brand, and I see only one product image, and there's not even the nutritional facts label available, I'm probably not going to buy the product. I mean, it's just that's me. Maybe somebody else will, but I'm not going to buy it. Um, because there's not enough info for me to make that decision. Um, it's not really about the price. It's really about information. So that's an easy fix. Trust queues are buried, right? So I don't see any reviews. Again, to Peter's point, you're not going to necessarily put bad reviews, but also just things like policies. Like if I order this and I don't like it, what's the return policy? Why is it either non-existent or buried?
Right.
Like these are all trust queues, right? So what's the guarantees? If something shows up broken or melted, even worse. But what is where is it that I can find that information? Is it easy for me to find?
Yeah, and Jeff, to your point, it's really interesting when you think about those trust queues. It's not just for customers; it's for distributors and category managers. They're looking for that kind of stuff. And just to give a real world example from our own situation as Brandartica. We recently updated our website. One of the things we went intentionally ahead to go and change was I used to say, "Oh, I worked at Disney for 15 years," and da 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 da, hoping that that would be sort of proof and a receipt of trustworthy and reliable and solid work. And it is, but it's a supporting player, and it's found much further inside the website in the About section. What the real proof that anybody that would work with us, or let's say your customers, are looking for is something where we put, our biggest hits. Here's the numbers for what this rebrand did. It was a 39% increase in sales. These guys did, 4x their business for the holiday promotion over last year's. Those are, and that was like $1.5 million, close to $2 million in sales in a month. And that's the kind of stuff that's the proof and the receipts that people are looking for. Not that you have to have that, but if your product or your service, or if you solve a problem unlike anybody else's, let's say maybe you cut down on the sales cycle, or maybe what you do makes it easier for kids to get together and have dinner with their family at the table as opposed to in different rooms on different screens. Those are the kind of trust proof cues, the receipts that belong up the front end of a website, so that people right away get the impression of, okay, these guys have been here before, they've done it, and they know what they're doing. I'm in. I agree. I have a shared belief. And now you move forward.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'll give you just an example too, and maybe this is just me, but I go to Amazon and shop all the time, and I will not buy a product that has all 5 stars.
Mm.
I just discount it. It's not real to me. Okay. I look for the 4 and the 4.5 star items because I feel like that's reality. And I will buy those items in a heartbeat, especially if they have over 100 reviews.
Yeah.
So to Peter's original point is like, not having a bad review. And I've had this question asked to me in DMs and things. It's like, I have this bad review. What should I do about it? Well, you should address it, but it's not about removing all the bad reviews, because then there's a trust problem, right? Because then people won't believe that everything is so perfect all the time.
Well, here's what happens. If you're on Amazon, it's a good example.
Yeah.
I look like Jeff. I look at the products. I see they got 4.5 stars,
Mm.
3.5 stars. But I really, really want this product. I heard a lot about it. There's a lot of buzz, a lot of hype. I'm going to go and I'm going to look and see what those few bad reviews are,
Yes.
and see who
Yeah.
put them there. I'm just taking a peek. And you know what tells me more about a brand than anything? How they respond to a bad review. So if they've just let a bad review sit there untended to, okay, that tells me that they're not engaged and they're not really trying. So maybe there's a good reason for that bad review. But if I see that there's a bad review that might have been about, the sizing chart wasn't right. That's my
Mhm.
classic. Like, I'm returning it because the size chart's wrong. When in truth, is the size chart wrong, or is my foot I measured it wrong? Probably that.
Right.
But I go, if I were to complain about that and they were to
Mm.
say to me, well, how did you watch this video in the future? This is how you measure for a pair of our shoes. Or maybe, that's the kind of thing that tells you this site or this brand or this company is quality. They care, and they're addressing the issues as they come. Because as Jeff said, anybody with nothing but 5-star reviews is
Suspect.
questionable.
Yeah, and then the obvious, like, checkout friction, right? Don't make it hard for them to actually pay for something. Like, please make it easy. Um, and no retention system, right? So think about that retention system beyond and what I said is essential is at least, the confirmation of your order, the order's been shipped, and maybe a follow-up. Those are really kind of essential pieces, but you can do so much more. Um, and then, so here's what you can look at, right? Um, can a visitor understand your brand in under 3 seconds, right? Is the next steps obvious on your homepage, right? When they first get that first impression and they scroll down. Do people um get all their answers from your product page, right? The trust cues that we talked about. the is the checkout just a a normal checkout experience, right? Because is it standardized, or is there something funky about it that you don't really want to have in there? Um, and then what does your brand do after the order, right? So these are all the pieces to look at on your own site, and see where you can have that improvement. We I just put these couple of pieces in on our website. We have what's called a 30-minute brand read that you can sign up for. I figured these are good free resources. There's also we have on our site an AI search optimization analyzer, and that what that does is you put your homepage on there, and it gives you a score, and it tells you things that are done really well in terms of people using AI to search and find sites. And then it also gives you the information that you would need to correct some things. And it's totally anonymous and free, and you can download a report right there.
Yeah. Same with the 3-second brand test. It's found in the same Insights tab. Um, you can
Yep.
go right in, answer a few questions, and you get a score that based on your answers, and it might give you some enlightenment as to some areas that might be in need of attention or to
Mm,
reconsider. And really, with that brand read, as far as any website or anything else that's downstream that you're working with or using to promote your brand and to make sales and generate revenue. That's the kind of stuff you want to get sorted out straight before you spend money. What Jeff and I always say is, if you have a very confusing story and your signals aren't straight and it's not clear who you are, and what you do, by marketing that more, by putting more budget behind that kind of a confusing story, you're only amplifying that fogginess to a larger audience.
mm,
And that's not good for anybody. So it's the kind of stuff that, whether it's a logo or a color palette or a website, we look for, those are the kind of things we look for first to go, is everything sound? Is the foundation have any cracks in it, any leaking spots? Let's fix those first and then make sure that the next move you make is cost effective and impactful.
mm.
And that's it. Thank you so much. Thanks,
Thank
Tom.
Yes.
you guys. We appreciate you. We appreciate being here. If anybody has questions, please put them in the chat. I have a few, which I'm going
Yes.
to start with,
Do
but
it.
we
Okay.
just want everybody to know there will be a recording of this. It will be on our website. And I've put Peter and Jeff's emails and their website, and of course, Tom, myself, and Susan's in there. So if you need to talk to us, you can do that.
Mm,
I'm going to give you three of my pet peeves. You covered one. Okay, but three of my pet peeves are a pop-up that's trying to sell me something when I'm just trying to learn what the product is, or trying to take my email, or making me spin a wheel for a discount when I don't even know what the product is. That's a
yes.
Hmm.
Two is, oh, when I'm going to order at a restaurant because I'm in a hurry and I go to check out and I get, nine emails from Toast, three messages from them, and uh, two more, phone calls telling me to sign up for Toast or enter a
Right.
code that I don't even know what I'm entering the code for. All I want to do is check out. And the third, well, you talked about nutrition. There was another one that I had. Oh, chat boxes that don't work or aren't manned
Mm.
or are
Hmm.
totally so AI that they're confusing
Yes.
as incredible to try to get any information out of.
Right, right.
Right.
That first one that you mentioned too is interesting because the gamification of a checkout process is, something that I think Timu probably was one of the first
The
to be
probably
doing.
culprit. Yeah. Spin
Trust
the
me,
wheel.
I fall into the Timu trap way too often, and my wife lets me have it. Um,
Yeah, if I'm not conquering some alien race in that game, I
But
don't
my
want.
point is that, with an audience, you have to know your audience. And if your audience is selling, if you're selling tea towels, I think the gamification of the checkout um, process is a mistake because that's not your audience. They don't want to play games. They don't even know
Right.
what's happening. To your point, again, that goes
Mhm.
back to the beginning, the origin point of, you have to know who your audience is. There's
Yeah.
always outliers, and that's okay. But if you're willing to risk it to just have some gamification thing on your website, that's a pretty big risk to take, especially if that's not what your audience is there for or into.
Yeah, and just to add to that, in terms of that pop-up thing, is there is still a place for that, and let me explain. Is that everyone is annoyed by pop-ups, but they're not annoyed by it if they click on it and it pops up. Because so what you do instead is you add a tab that lives on the side maybe and scrolls down the page with them that says for your first order, you get 10% off or whatever. And then you engage it. You decide, you hit that thing and then the pop-up comes up and you fill it out because you've created that engagement instead of it being happening automatically.
That's right.
The
That's right.
the last part in terms of AI, you're absolutely right because it is mind-boggling how these AI chat things don't really get you where you want. If you've ever been on Xfinity or one of these other or Verizon or whatever, you hate them. Okay, but here's the key: there's a right way to do it, and unfortunately, a lot of times it isn't done right. But the key to the AI chat thing is knowledge base. If you have a really robust knowledge base of your product, it works great. And smaller companies can benefit from this because their knowledge base isn't as vast as, let's say, a Verizon. So you'll have an advantage with AI bots because you're going to give it all the information that you want so that it actually does what you want it to do.
That's great. And so now here's two things I like. Okay, two things that keep us coming back. Chewy. Almost every time after I check out at Chewy, I get a discount on my next purchase. And
Hmm.
because of the dog, it's always a big order.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
now I know I have 30 bucks off or 20% off next time.
Mm.
And it's one of those things that bring me back. The other one, believe it or not, is DoorDash. Almost every time on DoorDash, I get a discount for something. I ordered over $50. Okay. I ordered
Mm.
before 4 o'clock. Whatever it is, there's an $8 off. There's a $7
Yes.
off. There's something off. I know I'm still paying a lot, but I feel like I'm getting something. I feel like they're giving me
Yeah.
something, or they recognize their costs are so high and I'm doing something that's getting me an advantage. So those are two things I
Yes.
like as part of websites. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is especially if you're on Shopify, is get that meter going for free shipping, right? So like have them add extra things to their cart to like it's like a game, right? So and I know I do it because I'm like $50 and over, you get free shipping on whatever Chalk Zero or something I'm on. And I'm adding things to oh, what's another $7? So I'll add this item and the meter goes and I'm like, I got free shipping. I'm good that I paid over 50. I should have only paid 20 but I paid $53 because I wanted free shipping, right? So that's a way. It's not necessarily like what I would call like a standard discount, like you're 10% off, 20% off, or whatever. But it is effective in terms of getting that cart value up, right? And that is going to be key as well in
And
terms
making a
of
loyal customer, making someone who
yes,
wants to order, right?
they want to order. They a lot of times return customers like myself, I know what I use from them and I order the same stuff, but I'll add in a second one of whatever just to get that free
Right.
shipping.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's the same with, with Chewy. Well, it's pricey because we got a dog and we buy what the one place the
Exactly.
budget doesn't count, right, is with the
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
So, but I always know there's another discount there. There's another discount waiting for me. I know I'm going to go back. I'm not going to go exploring on another site. I'm not going to
Right.
look for some discount somewhere else. I know there's a discount there. I know I'm going to go back.
Exactly. Right. And that and we talked about the post checkout experience. I mentioned Chalk Zero, which I happen to use their food products. But I'll tell you, like what I get in the box is a lot of times it's I'm just so surprised. Like it's very personal, right? Like they'll put it in a little cooler or something, and I I don't know. I'm not going to get that from Amazon, right? So I order directly from them. It's one of the brands that I do, um, because they've engaged with me in a certain way that landed positively.
Yeah. We have a couple minutes here. If there's any other questions, happy
Mm.
to take them. And we don't have a lot of time to put questions in the chat. So if you just want to jump in real quick before, Rob, can you take yourself off mute?
Oh,
Are you there, Rob?
He
he's
is.
trying to unmute himself.
He's trying. He's trying. It won't do it. It won't do it. You could
Um,
sign your question, but I won't understand it.
I guess we can't hear you, Rob. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
there he
Can you
is.
hear
There
me
you are,
now?
Rob. Please,
Yes.
we have a few
Oh
minutes
gosh.
here, please.
Um, I I would like to understand, and this is kind of like universal, not just CPG or I mean, I'm not in that space. I'm more in like a B2B or people space. But if
Hmm.
there's two things that you guys would say are paramount in attracting people and getting customers, I guess in that case, or um, getting business as far as how you approach it. If there's two things, what would they be?
I think on my end, I would say, first of all, accessibility and approachability, which knowing you, Rob, you have that. And I think the other thing is that getting your story straight. If you have to explain what you are, who you are, or what you do, if you have to explain it too long, you lose people. So
Mm.
get your shtick down, right? Figure out
Okay.
what it is and run with it. And you know what? It's okay to make some mistakes in that area. You do it again, try something different. I always say when you're getting into that point, because those two things are important to me as far as landing any business in any category or industry, is that ask some people outside your bubble if they understand what you are and what you do. Do you
Mm.
get it? And aim high. Ask somebody well outside your bubble who's maybe seems like one of those people that you probably can't reach or shouldn't talk to. Um, I think it's really important to get outside opinions. If you're like, I know when I was doing something that had to do with CEOs, I know plenty of CEOs, and I could ask any of them, like, what do you think of this? They're probably going to tell me the same thing. But I asked people that I don't know, that don't know me. And, harder to get an answer sometimes. But when I did, the answers were very
Mm.
eye-opening for me, either confirming what I thought was true and I was like, yeah, we're onto it here, or they're telling me they don't quite know what it is I'm asking. And that's
Mhm.
a cue for me to go back and work on that and make sure that it's clear. Does that help?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 No, I was just I'm trying to get as much insight from dudes that have done it for a while
Mm.
as I can.
Yeah,
So
man.
that
I think,
that that was
and I
that
know
was the
one of the
basic.
things you do, I think it's really important that you have content that's valuable to people, beneficial, not
Mm.
not promotional for your business yourself. It's like all about, I used to tell people when I was at Disney, if I go around the break room or the lunch lobby and hand out $5 bills to people I don't know without asking for anything in return, I'm going to end up with a whole bunch of new friends. One or two are probably looking at me sideways that like, who are you? But like for the, not that I ever did that, but like the idea being, if I gave you $5 in the lunch line to grab yourself a sandwich on me, and I didn't ask for anything in return,
Mm.
you're like, hey, you know what? That's an okay person right there. He's not asking me for anything. Now we all know maybe you are angling at something, but you didn't come out of the gate with it, And I think there's a very fine line between upfront and blunt and direct, and really just first when you're getting started, and I think continuing the process of giving people value and benefit. If I'm trying to sell cars, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the importance of child seatbelt safety. and share that piece of information with you, because what I'm saying is, yeah, I sell cars, but family comes first. Nothing's more important than family. And if I leave it at that, when you're ready to buy a car, you're going to go, you know, I liked that person who shared something with me that was important and beneficial and didn't ask for anything. That's my point.
Yeah.
All right. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I appreciate
Awesome.
Peter and Jeff answering questions. I want to thank everyone for being here, especially want to thank Jeff and Peter for joining us today. As we mentioned, there'll be this recording on our website. If you have questions, take one last look at the chat. Jeff and Peter's emails are in there, as are mine and Susan's. If you have
Mm.
trouble connecting with them, please reach out to me. I will get you connected.
Yep.
And with that, if you have any questions going further, reach out to us. And Jeff and Peter, it's always a pleasure to have you join us. I will say, I think this is some of the most clear and effective description of how to move a consumer through your website that I've heard. Okay, I mean it's
Thank you.
very clear. It breaks it down very easy to understand.
Mm.
And really, I think offers a lot to people who are trying to see if their website is or can be as effective as it can be.
Mm.
So I thank you for sharing that with us. And if you'll make the slides available, we'll add them to our
Absolutely.
website too.
Yes.
And for that, I will wish everyone a good afternoon or morning wherever you are. And thank you all for being here. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye
Have a
now.
great day. Thanks, everybody.
Take
Bye.
care.